Terence Crawford says he is the A-side in the Errol Spence 154 rematch. All terms are up to him. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red. But let's talk about it. Alright, so Terence Bud Crawford recently gave an interview. He spoke about the rematch and the terms of the rematch, why he is the A-side, and what he is willing to bend on when it comes to making the rematch. I wanted to give my 6,400 nickels on that and break it down for whoever listening.
I think the reason why I'm not as hype as everybody thought I'd be because I already knew what I was capable of doing. I just had to prove it to the people that doubted me. Because if you could remember, I was like, I don't need Spence. Spence need me.
Alright, y'all. So Terence Crawford said he is the clear A-side in the 154-pound rematch that should be in the near future. Perhaps, maybe late this year, early 2024. Still have to wait for about maybe 2 weeks before Errol Spence has a deadline of activating the rematch clause, which I am 100% sure he's going to activate. I wanted to just give my thoughts on what Terence Crawford had to say about him being the A-side.
I just understand karma. I'm too clear about karma. Everyone knows about it, but don't think it applies to them. And I'm a person that think it all applies to me because for me, my life has been like lotto. Lotto in the good way, but when you have lotto in the good way, you also have lotto in the bad way too. It's equal.
Now, I will say one thing. He's the clear A-side in the rematch fight, but I don't think all terms are going to be up to Terence Crawford, and there's a few reasons for that.
Wait a second. If you're wearing a wire, so help me God, I'll snap your neck where you stand.
Now, I do think there are going to be some things that Errol Spence can't even negotiate on in the second fight. And those are going to be things like the venue, things like the referees and the judges, things like who probably walks first. Now, that might be debated a little bit because he actually allowed for there to be a coin toss. So perhaps they wrote into the original contract that the second fight has to have a coin toss as well, even though one guy is not a champion anymore. But I think there are a few things that would probably have been written into the original contract that are beneficial to Errol Spence Jr. And I'm pretty sure Terence Crawford had to agree to those things just to secure the first fight.
Woo. Can't be too careful.
Now, what would those things be? I would think that more than likely those things would have to do with rehydration. Now, we know that Terence Crawford is going to be able to say, well, I'm the A-side, I get the bigger chunk of money. I'm the A-side, I get to pick the venue. I'm the A-side, I get to pick what referees and perhaps the style of drug testing and all this. But when it comes to rehydration, I think that's where the tale is going to be told, because I think Errol Spence is so calm about all this because he knows at 154 pounds, even if there's just a 10-pound rehydration clause, that goes a lot more into his favor to win the fight.
There's a yin and a yang that you got to deal with. So you have to be cognizant and conscious that anything that could happen will happen, from good to bad.
And if there is no rehydration clause, period, that goes completely into his favor because we all know that he's able to balloon up to around 180, 185, 190 pounds. So if he walks into that fight around 180, 190 pounds, I think he's going to physically be able to dominate Terence Crawford.
Well, then let God tell me himself. All right, I'll do it. Let me loose. Oh, geez, what a hard ass. Oh, all right, it's your world.
Now, that doesn't mean that Terence Crawford isn't smart enough to use his quickness to try to get around him, but it's going to be harder for Terence Crawford to hurt him with those shots because he's going to be so much bigger of a fighter on fight night if there's no rehydration clause. But let's stick to like a 10 to 15 pound rehydration clause.
I decided it was time to spoil myself.
If they just have a 10 to 15 pound rehydration clause, that means that Errol Spence would come into the fight most likely around 154 pounds, and then he'll be able to rehydrate back up to at least 164 pounds. And that means, number one, he won't have to drop as much weight, to make weight when they go into training. He'll most likely just have to stay around that 10 to maybe 15 pounds that he might have to drop, because he'll most likely be walking around 180 to 185 pounds. So he won't have to drop that much weight to make the 154 limit. And once again, he'll be able to rehydrate up 10 pounds to somewhere around 164, 165 pounds. Perhaps even past that if they got like a 15 pound rehydration clause to around 170 pounds, which would be really, really in his favor on fight night. Could you imagine 170 pound Errol Spence coming into the ring to fight a Terence Crawford who might be around 160, 165 pounds? Because I think that's where he walks around at normally, is somewhere around 160 to 165 pounds. But Errol Spence, naturally the bigger guy, walks around naturally probably around 15 to 20 pounds heavier than Terence Crawford.
I realized I was smoking, and I was like, damn, I might be like a computer, because I go off algorithms. I go off behavior patterns. I don't go off of how I feel. I go off what I've seen happen over and over and over again. And that's all a computer does.
I think that, Terence Crawford will get to dictate most terms of the rematch, but I'm pretty sure Errol Spence and his team already wrote things into the original contract benefiting him when it comes to 154 pounds when it comes to rehydration clauses.
I'd say it's more like a 15 now.
So this is why I think the rematch is going to be where the true story is told. Now, the ending of the story would be whether there's a trilogy or not. If Errol Spence actually wins the second fight, will Terence Crawford then activate some type of rematch clause, or will he just move on with his career because he'll still be the undisputed welterweight champion of the world? He'll still hold all the titles at welterweight. Errol Spence would have just gotten his get back at 154 pounds. So I think the true story and the ending of the story will come in the rematch and then the trilogy if it actually takes place.
I reject the challenge, but I'd be more than happy to beat up on him some more. I can't be beat, and I won't be beat. This time I'm gonna train even harder. There won't be no quick knockdowns. I'm gonna torture him. I'm gonna crucify him real bad.
Don't listen to it. When this is over, a lot of folks are gonna owe you an engraved apology, and you're gonna owe me a big favor.
Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. But you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If you want to collabo, feature a product or your channel on my channel, feel free to hit my Gmail, because it is a flock of cards at gmail.com. And we are man.
That's my shit, show that right there. That's my bitch, nice face, nice ass, nice legs, nice tits. If you do a nice job, you can get a nice tip. If you got a nice job, and you got a nice whip, and you got a nice crib, cause you like nice shit. I can feel that, I can feel that. So bring that booty over here and let me feel that. I can feel that, I can feel that. But bring your booty over here and let me feel that. Shawty, you a fool. Shawty, you a beast. Seen her in the west, seen her in the east, seen her in the club, seen her in the streets. Now I gotta see her on them hotel sheets. Shawty, you a freak. Rolling off 1.5. I gave her one on the bed. I gave her one in the bath. I gave her one on the floor. I gave her one in the car. When I feel like this, I go straight to the bar and tell her 1 chick, 2 chick, 3 chick, 4, 10 chicks, 20 chicks, 30 chicks. Whoa, which one of y'all bad bras won't go? Which one of y'all bad bras won't go? From the bar, the car, the telly. I'm talking about the bar, the car, the telly. We take them from the bar, the car, the telly. You know about the bar, the car, the telly. Okay. Fly in a pair of keys, dirty as a pair of cleats with a pair of freaks. In a hotel suite with a pair of sweets. Loose keys, I'm a beast apparently. You can tell cause they throwing, they really getting loose. I was already live, can't blame it on the goose out of Tron. We can get it on. Yeah, she kinda skinny, sweating like she big bone. Blunt I'm smoking on, bigger than the mobile home. Let me get your cell number in my mobile phone. Now she thinks she wifey, say she want a ring on it. I'ma break her back, they gon' have to put a sling on it. You know? Lean on it. I'm finna win. 1 chick, 2 chick, 3 chick, 4, 10 chicks, 20 chicks, 30 chicks. Whoa, which one of y'all bad bras won't go? Which one of y'all bad bras won't go? From the bar, the car, the telly.